All right, we are live, and looks like we got two people already. That's awesome. All right, guys. So, for those of you that are probably going to watch this maybe afterwards, today we're going to be another day in quarantine, another day in lockdown for most of us here in the U.S., and we're going to be talking about C8s and all from all the deliveries and specifically all the modifications that people are doing on these cars already and what we should be looking forward to moving down the line. I've been watching a lot of videos on the C8 and gotten a lot of good information from that I didn't know about the car and just kind of some what the different shops are doing. Watched Hennessy, Sheepy Race, the people from Soul Performance and Street Beat 717, all these people doing a lot of these things, and I'm kind of just concentrated and talk about it in this one video so that everyone kind of sees where we're at currently with C8 just being out for a few weeks now. And so we'll give a little bit of time for people to kind of join in. So if you want to skip to maybe probably like the 3-minute mark, and that way I'll start talking about the 3-minute mark and we can start going on with the topic. And for now, we'll just let people come in. And as you guys are coming in, make sure to say hi. Hope everyone's doing good, staying safe. Here in Houston, we have officially been put on lockdown. What's going on, Panda? Yeah, we've officially, and Houston's been a little different. We're not in official lockdown. It's called stay at home and practice safe or something like that. It's a little weird, but from the most part, we're basically everything is still open except for I would say 20% of the people, not the other 80% that live here in Houston in some way, shape, or form work for what's going on, Law Smith. 80% of the people in Houston work for some of these essential businesses. So it's basically, I feel, just driven down the traffic from just the general, families out and about during the day, people going to the retail stores, things like that. That's what's really being affected right now. So in the meantime, we get to work on cars. I get to work on my car, and obviously I started this little series to hopefully give people a little distraction and have some talk and some discussions back and forth about current car topics. So let's see if we can get a couple more people in and start talking about the C8, because there's a lot, guys. There's a lot of stuff. If you guys haven't been keeping up with C8 stuff, there's, for just the little short window of time that they've been out, there's a lot to talk about. So we'll give it a few more seconds, and looks like we got 4 people. That's pretty good, I guess, for my type of live streams. And Jose, yeah, I don't have a. It's not a for sure thing, but if someone decides to they want it, I'm willing to sell it. As far as the Patreon and the giveaway account, if I do sell it, I will be replacing it with something hopefully more to the channel's liking. Thinking about a 5th gen Camaro, a 2010, 2011 that we can kind of build here on the channel, and then hopefully as we grow, finally give that car away. So that's kind of what I'm doing. The Mach 1, I bought it and it's manual. I love it. It's great to drive and I can drive it around, but I don't feel comfortable modding that car. It's an older platform. Those 4 valves, really, you mod it and you don't really get that much more out of them. So just going to go ahead, and if I can get rid of it and get something else that'll help bring content to the channel and be more along the lines of what we do here, then I'm all for it. But yeah, the Mach 1 was just a car I wanted to have, and I got to have it and I own it and I enjoy it, but ultimately it isn't going to help kind of promote the channel and do that kind of stuff. So if someone wants it, I'm selling it. The GM truck would be nice. It would be nice. So there maybe like an older, what's that, like an 07, 06. That'd be cool. But anyways, guys, let's get down to the topic, and that is the Corvette. So unless you've been living under a rock, you know that the Corvettes started shipping out finally this month, and people started getting them as early as the beginning of the month, end of February, early March. And we had Street Speed 717 was one of the first ones on YouTube. TJ Hunt also got theirs, one of the first ones. They got them together. At the same time, we've also now had Carlisle Racing pick up theirs. We've had LG Motorsports pick up theirs. Sheepy Race picked up theirs just recently. We have Hennessy that picked up theirs. So a lot of people are getting, a lot of these big tuner shops are getting them. And of course, the first thing people are doing are the exhausts. They're putting exhaust on these things. And TJ Hunt's video on his MagnaFlow exhaust install was a very, very interesting one. And I'm glad that they were able to show what the stock performance exhaust looks like with the dual valves, because that to me, it basically showed that GM is still doing the same thing they're doing with the Camaros and the 6 gens, and it's basically making it a straight pipe with the valves open, and then only when the valves are closed does the air go through the rest of the muffler system and kind of quiet it down. So you already pretty much have a straight pipe from the factory. Maybe the diameter is a little bit smaller for cars that are going really big, but they do really good job from the factory as their axlebacks. Needless to say, if you guys go watch TJ Hunt's video, when he did MagnaFlow, they installed an X pipe with some smaller mufflers, and basically the same, had the same concept as the stock axlebacks, and they pretty much sounded the same with the valves open. To be honest, I didn't hear a big noticeable difference, maybe a slight little tone change, but it wasn't any louder because of how good the stock axlebacks is. Then we transition over to Street Speed 717, who went to Soul Performance, and I believe they kind of cater more towards the European market, but obviously the exotic look of the C8 and just the big catch-all for it brought them over, and they collaborated with Street Speed. And they actually went and replaced the catalytic converters with the high flow catalytic converters, so some race cats, which obviously freed up a lot more airflow. And they went ahead and did the race cats and their own unique tuning, J-pipe setups to adjust the tone of the car. And that car is much louder, which is what I expected. So my thing is, I think the best, when it comes to exhaust, the best sound for NA is going to be replacing those stock cats with some race cats. Basically, especially right now, because you can't really tune these cars. You have to basically kind of drive. If you do remove the cats and do a straight pipe, you're going to have a check engine light. So until they can tune these cars, your best bet's going to be to do a race cat, which will allow more airflow, which is great. And the best part about it, guys, is these cars now are coming with a wideband sensor. And so I just watched a video of, I believe it was Pite's Performance with Miss Amelia's Corvette, and they're here in Houston actually, and they installed the Nitrous kit and did some dynoing, and they saw that basically the car has widebands already built in, and the car is in closed loop fueling all the time, which is going to be an amazing thing once these things get unlocked, guys. So for those of you that don't know about closed loop fueling or open loop fueling, closed loop fueling is what happens in current generations of GM cars, not counting C8. We have the O2 sensors right after the headers, and they're narrowband sensors. They call them narrowband sensors, but basically they work well whenever you're just cruising and not completely flooring it and getting the maximum airflow through your car. So daily driving, cruising, accelerating, those sensors are adjusting what they call short-term fuel trims and long-term fuel trims. And those are what add more fuel or remove more fuel to make sure that you're at the target AFR, or air and fuel ratio mix, that you're asking for while you're cruising. Whenever you go wide open throttle, when you floor it, the current generation of cars, like our Gen 6s and most cars that in the GM family, are dependent on what they call open loop fueling. And that is where you set up the tables, the timing tables and the fueling, and you have to use a dyno to dial them in and make sure, even when you command a certain AFR, when you go to open loop fueling, you're not having that feedback of the sensors telling the car, hey, you're going a little bit too lean, or you're having too much fuel or too much air. It is just going based off of a set amount of tables and parameters that you've adjusted in a tune. So the Corvette C8 with wideband tuning, where the wideband is able to read the wide open throttle fuel, air and fuel ratios, which is why a lot of people recommend getting widebands for your current cars. The C8 already has them built in. So when you're flooring it, the car is constantly seeing the air and fuels and adjusting in real time the fuel and the amount of fuel that gets injected into the car to maintain a set AFR. Big game changer. I believe Mustangs have had this for a long time. The Mustangs have had wideband sensors for a while now, and that's kind of what they're going with right now. We finally have it with the C8, and one thing that does is when you add a nitrous system, which is what we've seen a lot of people do now, guys. We've got Carlisle Racing with nitrous. We've got Pikes Performance and Miss Amelia with nitrous, and LG Motorsports had nitrous. When you add nitrous to the C8s, what you're getting is now, usually you had to use jets to kind of adjust and keep the nitrous and the extra fuel from your fuel line very measured out and give you a specific set of AFR. Well, now, even if your fueling jet is a little bit off and not exactly where it needs to be, you don't need to go in there and change the jet to a certain size lower or anything like that. All you have to do is let the wide bands work, and the car will automatically either add more fuel or pull a little bit more fuel from the injectors in the cylinders to make sure you're still at the target AFR that you want. So in the case of these cars, what they're doing is installing nitrous and running relatively low shots. These guys are installing either 50 shot or 100 shot of nitrous. I believe Amelia did 75 shot. And for a 50 shot, generally you don't even have to adjust the tune. You don't even have to pull timing or do any of that stuff. You can easily just go ahead and just stick it on, do the 50 shot jets, and run it as a stock tune. And for the most part, the car won't have any issues. If you're doing a 75 or 100, you want to change spark plugs and go a little bit colder, and also kind of pull some timing. Now, because these aren't tuned yet, I don't know how they're doing that. If they're doing adding a Lingenfelter timing box, which you can do, and I've seen those work pretty well. I don't know if those it's an LT2, so I'm assuming the connectors and everything are the same as LT1. So you should be able to use the Lingenfelter's RPM limiter and timing box from the LT1 engines on this C8 Corvette engine to pull some timing. And again, go through the same thing. You pull the degrees of timing, you have the colder plug, and then you let the wideband kind of adjust the target AFR from your cylinders, but your jets are staying pretty much consistent with the different shots that you're going with. So you can pretty much basically run nitrous pretty reliably with the stock tune on this car. I would say up to 100, 150 shot because of the wideband sensors and how good the car is. So that's pretty cool. Obviously, I think the limitation is going to be with the transmission, as we saw with LG Motorsports. Now, their car, I believe, I'm not sure if they had broken the car in or were out of the break-in period, the 500 miles, that limits the torque, that output that's available. That could have caused any issues, because the other two cars that have nitrous haven't had any issues. And we saw one car run a 10.6 at 130 miles an hour with only a 50 shot in really good weather. And then we saw another one here in Houston run, I believe, was a low 11 on a 175 shot in pretty bad weather. So nitrous is going to be probably the thing that everyone does right now. Now, like Law Smith mentioned, guys, Hennessy did put twin turbos on their car already, and they actually even dynoed it as well. And that car ran, I believe it dynoed 648 or 650 horsepower and like 580 torque. Now, they don't really give a lot of details about how much boost or whether if they have a standalone. I'm not sure how they're controlling the engine and doing all that. My guess would be that they're using a standalone system, because obviously these cars are NA and you can't tune them yet. So that would be my guess, is they have a standalone controlling the engine part of the tune, and then of course they've got the transmission still doing its own thing. But 650, I'm going to assume that was probably on relatively low boost, probably 6 to 8 pounds, which is really awesome. I mean, that's probably over, if they're 450 to the wheels, give or take, you're looking at almost 200 horsepower gain from doing the twin turbos, which is pretty cool. I'm interested to see, though, just what they actually did and whether they went standalone or not. And I have actually seen the new Corvette. I saw it when they did the whole bring them to dealerships and stuff like that. And man, it's a really nice car, very, very nice. And I'm excited for the Z06. And Panda, how much am I spraying on my SS? Well, I'm gonna try. The goal for the SS is to start at the very bottom and work my way up. And ideally, I want to be able to get it dialed in right to where I can run it on a 50 shot. Because I have the timing box, the timing retard box, my NA tune, my tune on the car is going to stay pretty much the same. It's going to be an NA tune, and it's going to be pretty much the max NA tune. And I'm going to use the timing box, and I'm just going to adjust. So obviously, like I mentioned, with the 50 shot, you don't need to pull any timing. And I have a dedicated fuel system, so it's just going to be a matter of dialing in, making sure my AFR is pretty good with the air fuel pressure to make sure I'll do wideband data logging to make sure that when I'm spraying, my AFRs are staying good. But I'm going to be running a 50 shot first, then I'll be doing a 100 shot, and then a 150 shot. Now with the standalone fuel system, I'm going to be pretty much, I can go up to a 200 if I wanted, but I'm probably going to stay at 150 and keep it and show you guys, hopefully when the tracks open up, go one night and do one run with the one run NA, one run with the 50 shot, one run with the 100 shot, and then one run with the 150 shot, all in the same night. So we have the same weather, the same temperature conditions, everything, and you guys can see what the different shots are going to make. And of course, I'm going to be making sure that my jets are all dialed in right. I'll be testing it and making sure that the 50 shot jets are going to be giving me the right AFR that I want. The 100 shot jets are giving me the right AFR that I need, and the 150s are going to do the same way before we get to the track. But that's going to be an awesome video. I hope I can go out there and do that one of these days and show you guys just what the differences are and what you can expect from a 50, 100, and a 150 shot. So I'm excited about that. What was the deciding factor? Law Smith says, what was the deciding factor for you to do nitrous instead of supercharger? Law Smith, ultimately the fueling was the biggest thing that led me to do nitrous. So for a supercharger, once you install a supercharger, LT1 fuel systems is not going to cut it. You're going to need at least a minimum the LT4 setup, which would be, the LT4 low side pump, the LT4 high side pump, and the LT4 injectors. And that is probably good enough on E, and that is good on E to about probably 600 to 650. Probably, I'd say 650 horsepower. If you want anything more than that on E85, you're going to have to do something like upgrade your low side pump, go with a bigger Lingenfelter big bore high pressure pump, which is very expensive, and there's bigger injectors, or you add something like meth to the equation, and methanol systems as well. So the fueling, to get a fueling to get over 650 horsepower is very expensive on supercharged cars. With nitrous, all I did was add the standalone, which you don't even really need if you want to add. If you want to do a 100 shot, you can easily probably do a 100 shot without too much of an issue with just running the nitrous solenoid off of the fuel rail like you would in any other system. But I decided to go with the standalone just because if I'm going to be running this for the long term and for longevity and for the safety of the engine, I want to be probably injecting it with C16 gas. I don't want to run off of 85 because 85 obviously can change. The ethanol content can change, and that'll fluctuate and change the fueling and what the jet is actually going to generate in fuel for the car and what the car will be able to see. So my AFRs would kind of not be always the same if I did it right off of the fuel rail line with doing pump E85. If I was running like race E85 or something like that, it'd be a little different because that's much more consistent. But because I'm doing pump E85, I wanted to go ahead and do the standalone system and run a little much better fuel for nitrous that is going to be more forgiving, and that is C16. With C16, you actually don't even have to pull any timing up to at like 150 shot. You can run a 150 shot and not pull any timing with C16, which is insane. That's what gets you that extra power. I will probably still be pulling timing because I don't need all that maximum peak torque power. I'm sure even with pulling timing and using C16, you'll still be getting, you know, 50 to 100 and 150 extra horsepower, which in my car, it basically means that I'm running 650 to 700 horsepower on a 100 to 150 shot of nitrous, which is plenty to get some really good numbers down the track. And all that setup cost me, the nitrous kit with the fueling, the standalone fuel system, was way less than what even just a supercharger would have cost me, not to mention the fuel system for that car. So that's why I went with the nitrous kit on my car. So the Panda, I ended up going with the nitrous outlet dedicated 6th gen ZL1 fuel system. So it's specific for the car. It comes with a tank that goes straight on the in your trunk, fits right in the middle in the bottom of the trunk. So it's made specifically for the 6th gens. The stock bottom end should be able to take it. Like I said, nitrous is a lot more forgiving, especially with boost. These cylinders would get the problem with the stock bottom end in LT1s is that the boost, when you add boost and supercharge it, you're creating a lot. You tend to create higher temperatures, intake temperatures, and the higher intake temperatures heat up your pistons a lot more. So the what they call, I guess, the thermal temperature, the cylinder temperature, the internal cylinder pressure gets up really hot, and what happens is your piston rings end up getting hot and expanding, and the gap on the LT1s is pretty small. So what happens is when you heat them up, they'll end up butting, and that's when you cause an issue. If you have enough fueling to kind of keep the temperatures down, you tend to be really you tend to be pretty good. Nitrous is a very, very like super coolant. So nitrous, when you spray it, basically is a freezing. Like when it vaporizes, it goes into like negative, like below freezing temperatures. I mean, the vapor is super cold, so your intake charges are going to get pretty cold. And then C16 is really, really good at preventing knock. It has really good detonation properties. So the cooling temperature in the C16 should, in theory, I wouldn't say bulletproof it because obviously things can happen, but it's going to be very, I feel, even at a 100 shot and even 150 shot, be very reliable. And I should be able to spray this thing, especially with pulling the timing, spray this thing for the whole season, all this whole summer, and not run into major issues as long as all my other components work properly. So no, I'm not going to be gapping the rings. Like I said, and like you mentioned, 700 and under, I should be fine. I don't plan on going over 150 shot, which I think 150 shot would put me around the 700 mark. We'll definitely take it to the dyno and find out. I do plan on going back to Excessive Racing Engines' dyno because that's where I've done all my baselines. When we took it to Pat G, he used his dyno to kind of dial everything in. And obviously that number at Pat G's dyno was 521 to the wheels, but it's going to be way different since there's no way to really compare because we never got a baseline at Pat G's dyno. So we need to bring it back to Excessive Racing Engines, the same dyno that we went to, and go ahead and run it there and see what the car makes in a. Like I mentioned, I'm going to be using the timing box. So as long as my NA tune is spot on, which it has been. I mean, I've been looking at logs and my AFR is dead right where it needs to be. What I'm going to do is just leave it as is and just pull the timing back. And what even though I'm using C16, it doesn't need to pull timing. I'll still be pulling the 2 degrees per every 50 shot. I think you can run a 50 without 2 degrees, but they say you should still run 2 degrees. So I'm still going to do it. So I'll run 2 degrees off, and I'll do that across the board. It's 2 for 50, 4 for 100, I think 6 for 150 shot. And I'll be trialing the different jets. Obviously, the ones that they come with are for gasoline. So for C16, the jets might need to be adjusted a little bit. So for race gas, it's a little different. We'll put in the jets. We'll go spray it, data log it, make sure our AFRs are staying kind of where we want them to be. With nitrous, you want to be, when you're spraying, I think you want to be a little lower, like a 12.2, 12.4 AFR. So even though the car is going to be commanding a 12.8, almost 13.0, 12.9, what should happen when we spray the nitrous is you're going to have the extra fuel, you're going to have the nitrous, and the C16 should drop my air fuel down to about the low 12s. And so we should be able to see that with the wideband and go from there. So I'm looking forward to kind of showing you guys that whole progression and just how all that works. Because I know a lot of people have questions and are really weird about nitrous and how safe it is. But if you do the right things, you check the right, get the right plugs and all that, you should have no problem. But all right, let's get back to the C8, guys. So we've got the twin turbos already, which is amazing. Nitrous seems to be the way until we get the tune unlocked. The car has wide bands already built in, so once they do unlock it, they're going to be able to dial these tunes in pretty much spot on. It's going to be a lot easier to tune. And then we've got Sheepy Race, who they're going to be doing their twin turbo kit. But if you haven't watched TJ Hunt's dyno video, Sheepy Race has an all-wheel drive dyno, an all-wheel drive Mustang dyno. And you have to go in the settings and obviously change it for all-wheel drive if it's an all-wheel drive car and they're a wheel-wheel drive car, right? From what I gathered, they dynoed the car and it put down like 600, like almost 560, almost 600 horsepower to the wheels, and everyone was like freaking out, like, oh my God, how did it do that? And, you know, Alex, the owner of Sheepy Race, is talking about how good that is, but I'm like, dude, that dyno had to have been put in four-wheel drive for it to show you that kind of, or something wasn't right, because there's no way the car makes 560 when they advertise 500 to the crank. So obviously they always go, they do mention that they're always doing this based on, you know, using the dyno as a tool. So they said they have a baseline of 560. Hopefully they keep the same settings so that when they do the turbo kit, it's going to probably show, you know, 800 to the wheels, and it obviously it's not going to be 800 to the wheels, but they'll be able to see the gain from almost 600 to 800. So that I'm looking forward to that. And the longer these are out there, the more people are going to start doing mods to them. Looks like there's a lot of space, and you're able to do a lot of cool stuff, different ways to set it. Some people have the nitrous bottle in the back. Some people put the nitrous bottle in the front, and it looks like there's a nice tunnel. Since everything's in the back, there's a nice tunnel in the middle of the car that you can run all your lines through and hide them up and out of sight, which is really cool. Yeah, that they definitely didn't set the parameters right on their dyno. So I think the best setup for a nitrous system is going to be putting the nitrous bottle in the front trunk and then running the lines through the middle down to the back. I think the way that's set up is going to be pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. There's. I mean, I could see 470 maybe. You know, if like any, but it's still going to be under the 500 horsepower mark. 560 is a little too high. So with the nitrous kit on is going to be really popular with these Corvettes. Hopefully they get, right now everyone's kind of rushing to have all the content out there, but I think a good nitrous kit with a really good controller that can maybe lock out first gear or second gear, a first and second gear lockout and just spray, or first gear lockout and just spray in second gear, you know, do the window switch, so only spray between, you know, 3,000 and 6,000 RPM. That way the computer is able to kind of shift and transmission can shift right. Right now I feel like everyone's just on the button. People are just basically trying to be the first ones out there, put it out there, not worry about the wiring and all, because all that's very, very intensive. And when you start adding the controllers and all that, it takes time, and people want to be the first ones out there. So I think once you start seeing people really want to do a proper nitrous system, these C8s are going to be running 9s like nothing. Like on a stock tune, bone stock, just with the nitrous kit, with a really good controller. Like Nitrous Outlet has their really nice controller that can do basically progressive ramping. It can do all kinds of crazy stuff. It can pulse both fuel and nitrous to get right where you want it to be. I mean, it's going to be insane. You're going to have these cars running 9 seconds with a first gear lockout so that they can roll out and not, you know, freak out the car or break axles. It's going to be awesome. Those cars are going to be insane. And luckily, it's a very familiar platform. You've got basically an LT engine, so a little different with the computer and the wideband. You don't have the tuning axis yet, but once they do, you know, you're going to have a lot of stuff going on. So that's going to be really awesome. Now with the Z06, well, that's going to be a whole new engine. That's going to be what they're saying is the same one in the C8R race car, which is the 5.5 liter dual overhead flat plane crank car, which is going to rev out kind of like a Mustang all the way to 8,600 RPM. That's going to be a lot different. That car is probably not going to be as fast to develop any type of major modifications to it. I can see people doing the same thing with the Nitrous because you can do a 50 shot. I don't know how that car would take it or what all would be involved in there, but you're not going to be able to add the timing box from the LT1 more than likely. And the development is going to be a lot slower because it's going to be a brand new package, a brand new engine. We're not going to know exactly how it's going to kind of work and what features it's going to have and if it'll let us do anything. But hopefully I can get one and we can kind of find all the limitations and see what we do. We can take the Nitrous kit out of the Camaro in a year and a half or 2 years and throw it in the C8 Z06 and let it eat. So it looks like we got 5 people here. You know, I'm not sure how to share this stuff or how to share the stream, but if you guys could share, that'd be awesome. Get some more people out here because I'd really like to bring more people on here. Known as Santos, yes, and we're what they call stay at home and work safe. It's not an official lockdown, but we are in lockdown. So no more driving unless you're part of an essential, or unless you're part of the essential workforce, which here in Houston, I believe almost 80% of people are, then you can't be out driving. If you need, the only reasons to go out driving is if you need to go to the grocery store to get any type of groceries, or if you have to go to work. That's pretty much the only 2 things, or if you're getting, I guess, food from a restaurant. Restaurants are still open here. They haven't closed that down. They're just doing drive-through only. And when you're in the grocery store, they're making people kind of stay 6 feet apart from each other. I'm sure they have some type of control to see how many people go into the grocery store at a time. So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. It's giving me time to work on the car. If you guys don't have me, the 5 of you guys that are on here, if you guys don't have me on Instagram, you guys will see I posted a picture. I worked on the car today, did a little bit of work on it. I didn't get to finish everything, but I did make a video of it. So I put in the new anvil spoiler wing. And just a heads up, I will be giving away the ZL1 wing that I had on there before to any of you guys that have a 6th gen Camaro. So if you have a 6th gen Camaro, make sure you watch through the video so you can see the details on how to enter to win the wing, the ZL1 wing. So that'll be coming out probably tomorrow. I'll probably post that video tomorrow. But I put the new anvil spoiler on there and blacked out the chrome badges front and rear. A lot more difficult using the vinyl wrap to wrap the chrome. And I was going to try to get to the tips, but I didn't have enough time, so I'll be doing a separate video on that and doing that video probably later on this week. But I'm going to have to remove that whole rear bumper to remove the tips so I can spray them in a black chrome and have a dark tip finish, like kind of like the AMG style. That'd be fun. That'd be a funny looking wing, man. It reminded me of like the old school like 90s trucks with they had the little wing in the back of the bed cover. But the black, I'm trying to get that black chrome look, kind of like what the AMG Mercedes cars have. You know, the squared dark black chrome tips. So I'll be doing that hopefully sometime either tomorrow or Thursday after work, since I'm working here from home, and bring those videos out. And hopefully you guys enjoy it and give me some good feedback on whether you like the new changes or not. Just some cosmetics now, but if everything goes well, then this weekend we can start diving into the Nitrous kit and installing that, and that's gonna be really fun. But anyways, guys, any you guys have any questions? That's my C8 craze right now. There's a lot of cool stuff coming, and it's just gonna keep coming. Can't wait to see what they do. Already have that car running low 11s NA and mid 10s on a 50 shot. Can't wait to see what it does once they do turbos or once they do 150 shot and really get the car down the track. Anybody else got any questions? It looks like we're already at about 34 minutes, so I'm going to give a few more minutes for people to ask some questions if they have any, and after that, I'm going to be logging out. Well, looks like there's no questions, so unless anyone has anything in the next like 30 seconds. Okay, well, I'll give you another minute or so. By the way, Panda, did you, when you put the the Camaro engine into your GMC, did you guys build that motor? Four-door Blazer sounds like fun, man. That's like one of those old school, like the Jimneys or Jimmy Blazers from like the 90s. Those things would be legit. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Man, that Blazer is gonna be fun. That's gonna be a fun little ride. Oh shit. Okay. Damn. Oh, so the new one, the new Blazer. Damn, that's gonna be pretty cool. That'd be interesting to see how that works out and how that runs, man. Gotcha. So basically, I guess it's you went for the LT1 with basically a 6.2 on the truck, right? It looks like so you went from like I'm assuming maybe like a 5.3 to the 6.2 with the Camaro cam and all that. So that should be pretty good. The truck will get that low end power. I think most trucks, once you do like headers and stuff, that Camaro's stock cam's pretty stout. So it should be a pretty good puller. Get yourself the. I guess you can go with like an MSD intake and get basically a little bit more power on the top end. But yeah, once you do the heads and cam, then you're definitely gonna want another manifold. With the truck, you could fit the high ram on there without having to cut your hood. I would do the Holly high ram on it, to be honest. That thing would be beast. That truck would haul and pull at the top end really hard. So that should be pretty fun, pretty fun truck. Yeah, man. But have you seen all those high ram cars, the NA high ram cars? Prey Performance has a bunch of those high ram just bolt-ons NA cars, and they are running hard, especially from a roll, because that high ram makes all its power up top. Man, they can. You would notice a big difference. I mean, I noticed a difference with the MSD power wise. You'll notice a big difference with the high ram even more. But anyways, guys, I'm about ready to log out. If you guys don't have any more questions, I'll let you guys stay safe and hope you guys, stay sane and just be safe and careful with what you guys do. And you guys, hopefully, we'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll go ahead and post the topic for tomorrow. Not sure just yet what tomorrow's topic will be, but I'm sure I'll think of something, and I'll post that right after this live so that you guys can go check it out and set the reminder on it. And yeah, once you go cam, I mean, you're still going to have all that low end and mid range. You're just going to be able to get that high range as well. So I'm excited to see your build, and hopefully we can run it, especially once you get the heads and cam, and even before if we ever get up there. I'm down to run if this quarantine is over before you get your heads and cam done. Definitely get a couple runs in. But Anyways, guys, like always, I hope you guys stay safe, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. You guys have a good one.